am so excited. It's Dani Fish and we have a good one. Oh, the weather outside is weather. La da 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 da. Now I did mention that those classic holiday flavors were on its way, and here we are. I knew I wanted to do something with gingerbread, but I could not decide what that was going to be. Was it gonna be a cake? Should I just do a funky cookie? Just gingerbread ice cream felt lame. So what we came up with was a gingerbread ice cream cookie sandwich. There is 3 components to this recipe. The first is obviously the gingerbread men or women. The second is going to be a vanilla ice cream. If you don't want to make the ice cream yourself, obviously you can opt for just store-bought. Pick whatever flavor you like that goes with gingerbread. It's up to you. And the third is a cinnamon caramel sauce. Beware! These ice cream sandwiches are super cute. A few things before we start. Gingerbread cookies are known to be thin and crispy and snappy, and that's pretty much like the exact opposite of what we want in a cookie that we're making into an ice cream sandwich. I went online, did the dirty work for you, and I found a soft and chewy gingerbread cookie recipe that I will take to my grave. It is so good. That recipe and the rest of the recipe involved in today's creation you will find on my blog post, which is linked in my YouTube description as well as the link in my bio on my Instagram. Check it out. Gingerbread ice cream sandwiches. Step 1, make the cookies. Step 2, make the ice cream. Step 3, make the sauce. And then step 4, assemble everybody together and then eat it. Let's go. We're gonna start with the gingerbread cookies. So we're putting 3 cups of flour, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, and 3/4 of a tablespoon of baking soda in a mixing bowl with all of our spices. So that's 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, 1 tablespoon of ginger, half a teaspoon of cloves, and a little bit of salt. I normally never measure my spices, but this is really important for gingerbread cookies, so make sure you actually measure this one. Mix the dry ingredients together a little bit, and now we're gonna add our room temperature butter. The room temperature piece is super important. You need that room temperature texture. Yeah, see that squish? It needs to be mushy, but not melted, so if you forgot, leave it out, come back in 20 minutes, it needs to be room temp. And now we're gonna mush it with our hands, similar to what you would do with a pie crust, and you're gonna get this sandy-like texture at the end, and you're gonna know you're done. Like that. Now we need to add in our molasses. So you're gonna turn your mixer on low, and you're gonna slowly pour your molasses in. And then about 2 tablespoons of milk as well, just to kind of get everybody together there. And you're gonna get this really nice, soft dough. Then you're gonna divide your dough into 2, wrap in plastic wrap, and then stick it in the freezer for 20 minutes or in the fridge for about 2 hours or overnight. If you're looking to make these same day, I would obviously recommend just throwing it in the freezer for a little bit. Next, we're gonna roll out our dough, but for whatever reason, I always forget that I don't have an actual rolling pin. So what I do have, like any 20-something in quarantine, is a bottle of alcohol. So yes, I washed it, but thank you Bacardi for sponsoring this roll here. You wanna roll the dough to a 1/2 inch thick. This is thicker than most cookies get rolled to, so really look at what a 1/2 inch is before you actually start rolling, because your brain is gonna think it's much thinner than it actually is. This is a thick boy. This is gonna be a thick cookie, so you gotta make sure you understand what a 1/2 inch is before you get going. Also understand that it's a very sticky dough if it's not floured, so it will stick to your counter, it will stick to your bottle of alcohol and or rolling pin. So make sure you've got a nicely floured surface and some flour on deck on the side so that you can roll everything out in peace. Once we're all rolled out, you can pick your size cookie cutter. I went with the medium size. There was one that was larger than this, but that was a little too aggressive. And as you can see, he's nice and thick, and these are what they look like when they're done. All right, next up is making ice cream, which you guys have seen me do probably 6,000 or 7,000 times. We're just adding sugar, milk, and some cream with a little bit of salt into a pan until that sugar melts down and the liquid gets scalding hot. And then we temper in our egg yolks as we usually do, and then back into the pan we go. And we cook that low and slow until it starts to thicken up a little bit and it looks like a nice custard. And then we strain that custard into another bowl with a little bit more cream through a mesh strainer and chill it until it's ready to churn. And then we have ice cream. And voila, 6,001 times you have now seen me make ice cream. Lastly, we have the cinnamon caramel sauce. Okay, there is two things we need to go over about caramel. If you don't learn anything from me, let's learn these two things together now. First thing, when you're making caramel, that is all you are doing. You are not on your phone. You are not walking away. If you have to pee, you're holding it. Once you start making caramel, the world around you stops. Do not walk away from it, or I can guarantee you it will end poorly. That's rule number one. Only caramel when you are making caramel. Rule number two, make sure that all of your other ingredients that we're gonna add in, so that butter and that heavy cream, are at room temperature at least, or maybe even a little bit warmer. Because if you add cold ingredients into this nice hot sugar that we just cooked, it's going to seize the sugar and you're going to either burn yourself from it splashing too much, or have to sit over the stove for half an hour waiting for everything to remelt again. So, rule number one, don't leave the sugar unattended. Rule number two, make sure all your ingredients are at room temperature. Once all of your sugar pieces are melted and you get this nice amber color, you're gonna add in the butter. It's gonna start bubbling a little bit, but don't worry because it's at room temperature, right? So it's not going to hurt you. Mix the butter in and it's going to start to resemble a caramel sauce versus just melted sugar, which is great. Then you're gonna slowly start to pour in your heavy cream. Do this in like 1 or 3 intervals. Don't just throw all the cream in at one time, and then you will have your caramel sauce. But because we are making a cinnamon caramel, we're actually adding in a little bit of vanilla extract at the end and then a little bit of cinnamon just to make it a little bit more festive. Then you just transfer it to a container and let it cool at room temperature. Isn't she beautiful? Look at that. All right, now the fun part. We get to decorate our gingerbread men. You don't have to do every single one because you're not gonna see the bottoms as much as you're gonna see the tops, obviously, but that's totally up to you. I'm using just a regular frosting. You can use royal icing or frosting, whatever you want. Decorate how you'd like. I have some fun little Christmas sprinkles on the side there to kind of give some of them some buttons, and then you just pop them in the freezer for a little bit. Now we're going to assemble our ice cream sandwiches. So I put a scoop or two on each cookie and then a little dollop of our cinnamon caramel sauce, and then just top it with my top cookie. Once you finish building all of your ice cream sandwiches, just pop them in the freezer for a couple of hours so that everything can refreeze all together and you are ready to enjoy. Sorry, but how cute is this? Can we talk about it for a second? Look at him. Look at him. You're so precious. Oh my God. Off with his head. It's so good. I'll never be the same. Yes, I just ate the whole thing. Why is this not a thing? Like, why was this not a thing beforehand? Because, oh my God. Let's talk about this for a second. I need to like collect myself. I'm so excited. First of all, that cookie. The cookie by itself, 10 out of 10. I highly recommend using just a vanilla ice cream for this because the cookie itself has a lot of spice going on in it, which is exactly what you want in a gingerbread cookie. That's the whole point. It's filled with the cloves and the ginger and all that jazz. So you want an ice cream that's gonna complement that, and like the coolness and the simplicity of a vanilla ice cream is what you want. The only other type of ice cream I would say would work just as well would probably be some type of like cinnamon roll or cinnamon kind of ice cream, but nothing too wild. Don't go crazy here. Make the ice cream simple. The gingerbread cookie with the ice cream is insane by itself. But now we added the cinnamon caramel sauce. I don't know what to do with myself. It's so good. If you want to make this a little bit easier on yourself, make the cookies into rounds versus actual gingerbread men shape, because when you just scoop the ice cream on top, it saves you having to like finagle the ice cream, and then you can wrap it really simple. It's a much simpler way to go. I just wanted like the aesthetic of a gingerbread man, so that's just me making things more difficult. A bunch more holiday stuff coming your way. So there's 3 things that you need to do to make sure that you don't miss a thing. Make sure that you're following me on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you plug your email into my blog. That way you don't miss a single picture, a single video, or a single blog post. Let me know in the comments below if you're gonna try this recipe out, and I will see you next week.